Okay. So I am in the Zoom room for those who registered in advance, and I am also live on YouTube. And so I'm going to endeavor to talk here and not over here where YouTube is. But hey, y'all, it is Delilah Bartlett, also known as your leadership auntie, and I am coming tonight with the first of three different brief micro learnings around just living better lives and having better leadership experiences. And so this is Getting Unstuck, the Leadership Alignment series. Alignment because our most best self is when we're internally and externally aligned. And over the next 3 weeks, we'll talk a little bit more about that. But today, I don't want to belabor our time here because I endeavor to only be here 30 minutes. Those that are here live in Zoom, here's what you can expect. I'll share information. You've already got a complimentary purpose pursuit plan document because you have registered. We'll also hang back after the 30-minute session and do some live Q&A and live coaching sessions. And so that's what you can expect on Zoom. Those that are rocking with me on YouTube, you are having the live experience. Feel free to leave comments in the chat. I'll be answering those after the live. You too can still register for this series that will take place again over 3 weeks. This is the first week. And if you do so, then you would also get the complimentary uh, Purpose Pursuit Plan workbook. And so I am going to share my screen so that we can go ahead and get started because this is the document that we will primarily use. And so let me get over here to, okay. So purpose pursuit plan. And what are we doing? Why are we doing this? I am doing this because I, being Delilah Bartlett, if you don't know me, DelilahBartlett.com has a ton of information, but at my core, I am equipped and purpose to help people like you and maybe even teams that you lead or organizations that you are part of get what I call unstuck. That means sometimes within ourselves, there could be various things that cause us to max out or hit a ceiling at some point in our life and career. I come with framework tools, services to help you get unstuck. I do similar for your team. If there's misalignment within the team and it's not optimal, not really maximizing the potential of the full team, I come in, do similar. And lastly, within an organization, be it academically, so a school, or think a Fortune 100 company, or a small business, maybe even. I do a diagnostic again to get you unstuck, the organization unstuck, find where friction is, and build strategic plans around that friction, removing that friction. And so that's what I do holistically. And so today I am here in the vein of helping the individual, you, maximize your potential and take hold of that amazing dream, or even start to dream or imagine again, so that you can live this here life to the fullest. And so we're going to do that by using the Purpose Pursuit Plan, a portion of the Purpose Pursuit Plan. Now, the Purpose Pursuit Plan is a tool that I have used for almost a decade. It has worked in civic, in corporate, in nonprofits for individuals, and I know it's going to work for you. And when you register, you get the actual PDF of this document, and you can go through the entire workbook. It's pretty self-explanatory. We're not going through the entire notebook workbook today. I'm picking up in probably like page 15, but let me pause here really quickly and say this quote that I love from David O. McKay. It says, "Find a purpose in life so big that it will challenge every capacity to be at your best." And so what you've probably heard and what I like to share with people is if your purpose only impacts you and it's not larger than you, then it's not large enough. And so this is the Purpose Pursuit Plan. It's a great tool to use to get clarity on your purpose, if you need that. But we are going to use it today to really help us become just more aligned with different priorities in our life. And so, why am I doing this? I am a multidimensional, multifaceted person. I was raised in corporate America, high dynamic environment, high cost, high paced. And so there were a lot of moving priorities. I'm also a Gen Xer, so I was raised in, conditioned, and nurtured to solve problems, sometimes on my own. And I recognize, and other many hats. But I recognize we can want so much out of life that it's hard to kind of find out where to start, right? Where to start when you look at creating and continue to create and evolve into this life that you're destined to have, or even again, reimagine and dream and envision the life that you want to have. It's difficult sometimes to be like, how do I look at that? Because life is so multifaceted. And so today we're taking a look at different areas of our life, how to ground ourselves into those areas, and then how to prioritize and actually start the work that we want to have in our life. And so the document again was created for purpose, but we are repurposing the purpose document. Imagine that. And so the purpose document and what we'll talk about today has been geared to align toward our values. So I'll park here just for a second to say, having a foundation for why you do anything is imperative. We've heard Simon Sinek say, starting with your why, right? And so, why do you want what you want? As we go through the different areas of your life, answering that question, or at least entertaining that question about why do you want it? Why is it important to you? What values is that particular portion of your life anchored in will help you ultimately be successful with the change or the experience that you want to see. Okay. And so here, this page is talking about the different types of values. There is a ranking process that I do. This document has been used for 2-hour workshops, 5-day workshops, 12-week workshops. It all depends on how deep I'm working with the individual. And we are doing this. I am introducing these elements to you within 30 minutes. It'll still be impactful, but there are some things that we won't necessarily exhaust in this 30 minutes of conversation. And so values. Here I give a list of values, and it's not exhaustive. You may go on Google or something like that and actually expand upon this list, but you do want to start thinking about what are your top values? What do you believe? What is important to you? Because that understanding that will allow you, understanding your values will allow you to start making decisions about every area of your life and then prioritizing those areas. It's great, great, great decision data. Your values are great decision making data. And so I do want to encourage you at some point, if it's not this list, a list, values that will help you start to catalog maybe your top five. You see here, I say read through the list and select and rank order. This is your top 10. Here in this exercise, we do a top 10, ranking them from the least important or the most important to the least important of those 10. And you see here, we have tens of values. And if you were to go on the internet, you'll see even tens more. But at some point, you do have to, but everything can't be equally important. That's why we're here in the first place, because I understand everything can't be equally important. So the same is true with your values. You're going to have to know yourself better. This is the first pillar of everything I do is around self-awareness. You have to know yourself better. So taking the time and having a good time exploring yourself, getting to know yourself better, getting to understand your values, toying around with different language and different descriptors that describe you best is going to be very, very powerful. And so you have your values. Now, you're either using this list because you've taken a screenshot or you're going online getting a list of values. But I recommend that one of your first steps be getting clear on what you value. And once you get clear on what you value, the next step in our process tonight is, taking a look at the different areas of your life. I'm going to have a sip of water and you can maybe take a picture of the wheel of alignment. I'll be right here one moment. And so, again, you're a multifaceted, multidimensional being. You're not just career, you're not just family, you're not just spiritual, you're not just health, you're not just romance and intimacy. You are a well-rounded, or at least we endeavor to be more well-rounded, but you are a multifaceted being. And what the Wheel of Alignment is doing is it is having us take a look at the top, well, to the top eight areas of your being, right? And so from right clockwise, we have career and business, family and friends, finances, romance, intimacy, down like about the 6 o'clock hour of the clock, self-care and health, physical, spiritual development, and social fun. And so if we were to think about, using those values as foundation, and then taking a look at each one of these areas. It could be the values, I recommend values. It could even be a rating of how satisfied are you in each one of these areas of your life. And so now you're doing the work to take into account the different areas of your life and intentionally reflect on those areas to say, either one, how aligned am I into those areas with my values? I think that's the bigger work. But you can also do the higher level work, or the other level work of how satisfied are you. But you want to ask yourself, what do you want to walk away with? You want to walk away with a different understanding of how satisfied you are or how aligned you are. I think alignment has more power. Of course, I do. The name of this particular series is Alignment. It's focused around alignment. And so if you were to create a document like this, or if you got it via email because you actually registered, hint, hint, if you haven't registered, I keep recommending you guys do, you'll be able to shade from the center outward. The more you go outward from the center is the more aligned that you are. And I like the visual because, when we hear things, it's one way, and when we see things, it's a different level of reinforcement. And when we start to articulate it back and speak them, even deeper reinforcement. And so I like the visual because you'll be able to look at it really quickly and remind yourself, oh yeah, as far as my values to or how I currently operate in my area of career and business, I am aligned. I'm more aligned than I am in my area of romance and intimacy. But you'll have a visual that helps you do that. And so, why is all of this important? Why is um, having values important? Why is taking chunk granular looks at the pieces of your being important? It's important because as we're coming here and we're like, oh, I got all this stuff and I really want to do everything and I'm so amazing. What do I do? Having a deeper look allows you to create more momentum, and the right kind of momentum. Because if you were to have a goal in each area of each of these areas of your life, which we all should, but if you're equally trying to move each area at the same time, one, it's not really effective. And two, it's not really efficient, I guess, effective and efficient. Because I was going to say it's going to take you longer. And so having a foundation of values, make sure you're aligned with your core being, and taking a look and rating each area now gives us a look to say everything is not the same. Now, if you came up and you rated everything the same, if you've done this now, wheel of alignment, and everything you're looking at is the same, I encourage you to go back and take another look. No more than two things should be even close to the same. Just take a harder look, because now what we're going to do is we're going to figure out what you want to work on. Now, some of us are going to say, because there are multiple schools of thought, I lean one way, but wherever you lean is going to be fine. There's a school of thought that says the closer I am to excelling in a space or meeting a goal, I should focus on those areas. There's another school of thought that says the further I am away from achieving a goal, I should focus on those areas, right? So I'm gonna let you do you. I'm gonna let you do you. But even when you think about, I lean toward the former. Even when you think about like budgeting, you hear things like, if you have debt, if you have balances of debt, go after the debt with the lowest amount to get it out the way so that you can move on to the next thing. But I'm going to leave that up to you to which way you're bent toward prioritization. But either way, we're now going to take the top three, be it if you looked at how close you are, those with the smallest gap, or if you looked at how far you are, those with the lowest gap, and we're going to look at your top three areas. I'm going to say, for instance, mine. I'm just going to take the first three. Would be business, family, and finances. So, of all the areas of your life that you can work in, you pick your top three, right? We're getting focused. We're aligned on our areas. Now we're getting focused and we're starting to think about how to strategize and actually see movement in these areas because it's not going to be all at once. We may look at these three and you may take them for the first 30 or 90 days to see progress in those, while keeping a line on what your next Q2, well, maybe it's actually going to be Q3, Q4 goals are, for other areas of your life. But this is helping you really just start to focus because that focus is what's going to help drive momentum. So now we have these three areas. And so now here, this is saying this particular page on page 16, using the wheel of alignment, note below the three areas. And so that's you, you've done the areas, but this is this placeholder here, and you can do this on a general piece of paper. It's really to help you get it inside your body, the areas that you're working on. So being able to write them out and give them language is powerful. Anybody who knows anything knows that language is powerful. Words are powerful. And so if you were to say, one of my areas, like I said, would be business, where am I, and you identify where you are versus where you are, where your vision is, so you can identify the gap. And so I can say, for instance, like, so I'm the founder of a new business. Where I currently am is, three primary clients, and my goal is by end of year to be the preferred supplier for at least 10 clients, right? And so that just gives us a number, right? Three and five. I'm sorry, three and 10. So right now, three, we're looking forward to 10. I forget the numbers that I made up, but we're going to go with 3 and 10. And so doing that for each one of those three areas and my family, right now, and we want to have SMART goals, things that we can measure, right? So right now I spend, 10% of my week, with intentional time with my family. I would take my waking hours, right, 16 hours times seven. I'm gonna take 10% of that to say that's how much time I spend with my family. And I really want to have a better intimate relationship with my family. And so I want to increase that to 20% by the end of year or whatever the number is. But something that's measurable and something that's attainable. So I'm going to flip to the very end real quick because I feel like this is a good time to bring up SMART goals. We're pretty much all familiar with SMART goals. And so SMART goals are things that are specific, goals that are specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time bound. And so that's why you hear me when I'm talking about the goal for my where I am with my business versus where I want to be, where I am with my family versus where I want to be. You hear me talking SMART. You hear me saying a specific goal, right, that is measurable, that is attainable, and that is realistic. If I were to say, like, for the family goal, that I wanted to spend 50% of my time, my waking time with my family. That may not be very realistic based on everything else that's going on in my life. 20% probably more realistic. And by end of year, time binds it. And so that's what we're saying when we're talking about a SMART goal. So as you're thinking about those three areas of your life, you want to be thinking about SMART goals. So let's stop for a second. I'm going to do a quick overview before we go into this next section, just recalling what we've gone through already. So we've taken a moment. We've acknowledged that we're multifaceted, multidimensional beings. We know that there are many parts of us. We know that there are some things that are more important to us than others. So we've been talking about values and the importance of not just knowing values exist, but identifying our core values so that the work that we do and the contribution that we give to mankind is aligned with who we are. And so we entertained a list of values that I had here. We also recognize that there are more values that may be available through, like, lists on Google. But we are looking at getting our top 10 values identified, and we're looking at getting them rated, ranked. And so, of our top 10, of all the values that we want to consider, we're doing a list, we're getting 10, and we're ranking them our 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 value so that we know what's most important. If we had to choose what's most important to us, that allowed us to then have that ranking and awareness of our values allowed us to have a foundation from which we would then look at priorities and things that goals that we wanted to accomplish. We then went forward and started to chunk out our life within 8 chunks. We looked at 8 chunks of our fabulous dynamic life to start to say, okay, now we have a view of a totality, a holistic view of our being. And so now we want to start to think about um, based on where we are in our values, or based on what our values are in each one of these 8 areas, the wheel of alignment. I introduced the wheel of alignment. Where are we in that specific particular slice of the pie? Because it looks like a piece of pie if we go around the wheel. Our alignment where we are now to where we ultimately want to be, kind of what that looks like. And we did that ranking, you did that ranking so that you could then start to prioritize because we understand and we're here because we understand everything is not the same priority. Everything cannot happen at once. So all the fabulous work you want to do on yourself, how do you start to think about where to start? And this is the work we're doing. And so then you went through and you ranked in those areas based on either there were two different ways you could consider. Some people will consider the closer I am to to alignment, I want to go after those first so I can have better, more full alignment. Or some people want to consider the further that they are away from being aligned in an area of their life, they want to work on that. And we also revisited or visited SMART goals. All of us are pretty much aware of SMART goals, that a goal must be specific, measurable, attainable, um, relative, and time bound. And so we started to talk about we started to think about our goals that way. We also took our goals, the areas of life and the goals associated with areas of life. We started to look at those that way. We also took those areas of life and we wrote them down because we talked about the power of hearing them, of us saying them out loud, of us writing them, of us recalling them, hearing them, the reinforcement of being able to talk about our goals that way, talk about the areas that way. And so we wrote down the area where we are and ultimately what it looks like, where we want to be. And so now we're going in to say, okay, now what? I know all of this, Delilah. This is what you're saying. I know you're saying, okay, so Delilah, now I know all of this. I know my values. You've helped me refocus back on my core values so I can have alignment in my life because alignment gives me power because I start to make decisions from my core of who I am, what I believe. I've identified 3 areas of my life that I want to first prioritize, knowing that I'm going to get to the others later. I've done that. I've written them down. I'm aware of where I am and where I want to be. Now what? Now you can start to think about a plan. You may have already, a lot of people plan before they get aligned. It's the craziest thing. You start thinking about what you want to do in the area before you're probably even clear on what you should be doing in an area. But that's okay. We're here, we do stuff, and we redo stuff. And so you have this area now. So we're going to take area one. You got 3 areas. We're just going to take one of your areas for an example, and you're just going to repeat after this. Repeat for the other 2 areas after this. And so now we have a 30-day block. These are placeholders, 90-day block, and a block that talks about here at the bottom of the screen that I'm sharing says, what challenges do you anticipate and how will you push through to purpose? And so now you want to think about, we have that area, one of the first slice of pie. I've been using business as one of mine. Right now, I have 3 clients at the end of year 10. And so I know I need to start to think about, well, how do I get more clients? And so chunking out goals is a amazing, beautiful thing. If I look at the end of year and I'm like, holy moly, I need 7 more clients before the end of the year to get my goal. That's tough. If I chop that in half and say maybe I need 3 or 4 within the next 6 months, that seems more achievable. And so now I'm saying, well, what do I need to do in the next 30 days to 30-day period and 90-day period to be able to do that? Here's where you may actually get into like a tactical implementation plan. It's going to be more line items than these blocks that here are here on this form. These blocks are merely placeholders for you to start thinking about tasks that you need to complete to take where you currently are in that area of alignment to where you want to be in that area of alignment. For me, if it's my business, it's probably I need to do research on for potential clients. I need to see what competitors are doing. I need to maybe be reaching out to 3 to 5 people, organizations a week to get in front of them. I may need to update some marketing material. I may need to update website. Like there are things that I need to do within the 30-day time period and the 90-day time period in order to move that goal. And so, in order to achieve that goal. And so now you're actually tactically building out, right? It's smart, it's specific, measurable, attainable, relative, and it's time bound. And so now you're documenting what you need to get done. And furthermore, and this is the probably one of the final things I'm going to say about us getting clear and aligned today. And we have a couple more topics that are coming up in the weeks to come. But furthermore, you want to identify and anticipate what challenges are going to come up that will might pose themselves as a challenge to you in the 30 days or the 90 days, right? Because the reason you want to do that, does anybody want to guess? I'm sure I said questions will be last. So anyway, the reason that you want to do that, right, is to be planful and proactive. There's no need to wait for a problem to present itself before you start to have a strategy on how to overcome the problem. This is something you really want to do. And so it's helpful and healthy to think about what problems may show up that I need to have a strategy for how I mitigate the problem, right? And so you have your little problem resolution session so that if then, right? You've heard these things about if then. So if this happens, then you do that. And so you already have the strategy. You won't be emotionally hijacked or thrown off by things coming up because you have done the work to proactively think about the problems and create a problem resolution plan. So we came together. I wanted to help you give you nuggets on life can be very dynamic. There is a lot of you moving around this one body. How do you get clear to deliver results and create momentum in your life that you want to see happen? And I shared with you some of the elements from the Purpose Pursuit Plan that I created about a decade ago that has been helpful to people in different sectors and industries. I'm going to stop sharing because we don't need that anymore. And so I want to also encourage you that these concepts can also be used within your organization because a lot of times you can have competing priorities at your job, right? There are so many things moving. So, how do you start to scale all of the initiatives that you have going on to understand and get buy in on? What's most important and what exactly are we delivering? And so you can do a similar exercise. You can relabel the areas instead of areas of your life. These can be your initiatives and projects. The values list can be the values or mission for your organization or targeted goals that you already have for your organization. So you can use the same approach for your business as you have personally. And so that is what I have for you today. Please know there are 2 more weeks because we're talking about getting unstuck and getting aligned. Oh my gosh, the power and alignment. And at some point, I might pull up a cup of coffee and just tell you guys about this season of my life and what aligning is looking like for me in this phenomenal season that I'm in now. But there are 2 more sessions coming up. And so I want to tell you about next Thursday. Next Thursday, we're doing basically pivot your labor into your laboratory. How to basically shift your job into your work. Sometimes we're in jobs that we're not 100% excited about. So what do you do when you're there? And then week 3, we're going to get into why do you think what you think? Really do some internal work on what makes us up so that we can identify some of those things in order to make them better, mitigate those, unpack some thinking, unlearn and relearn. Like that's going to be a really good one. And so if you've not yet registered, if you are catching this on live and you are not, I'm over here looking at the YouTube, but if you are catching this live on YouTube and you've not yet registered, you can register. It's somewhere around here on social media. I'm going to try to make sure it's in all the comments. But register and you will get your handy dandy copy of the Purpose Pursuit Plan, and you will get reminders about the weeks that are to come. I also want to do really quickly invite you to a phenomenal engagement happening here in Spring, Texas on May 2nd, Kingdom Leadership Summit. You are talking about really ascending to your highest level of being and leadership, killing the game and knocking the rest out of the park. I invite you to consider joining that. DelilahBartlett.com, my events tab, will get you registered for that. And so that's what I have. I'm gonna stop the live because I'm gonna spend time here with the folks who actually registered on Zoom. We'll do a live Q&A. I hope to see you guys soon. And that